guys, welcome back to another edition of Chats from the Blog Cabin. Today I'm joined by Sabrina. And Sabrina, you have a really unique company. So tell us about yourself first.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Melissa. I really appreciate it. My name is Sabrina Osso from Oso Safe. Feel safe where you live, work, and play. I am a speaker and consultant on promoting safety and preventing violence in the workplace, schools, but in particular in your place of residence. I did a bunch of computer work because I graduated with a computer science degree, and we're talking a number of years ago. I'm a professional dancer and actress. Acting comes naturally to me. And I formulated my company from a one-woman show, actually, that I'm sure we'll talk about further, but that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, so why did you decide to start Oso Safe?
Well, I grew up with violence. My father beat my mother on a regular basis. It has taken a lot of years of therapy for me to even say that, to be open about that, but my house was pretty chaotic, dysfunctional, violent, abusive all around. So, and as I mentioned, I'm a dancer actress, and I designed a one-woman show called Home Sweet Home, and I play different women being abused, and then she goes to her good place, and that's where the dancing comes in. But then she's pulled back into the terror of being abused. But the show ends very strong, very empowering. But for the show, I did a lot of research for it, and because I wanted it to be educational. And I couldn't believe the statistics that I was finding out, manifesting in statistics, in warning signs. I couldn't believe how prevalent it is. So I said to myself, I have to make this into a business where it's a service. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm not a charity. I feel that we cannot solve the magnitude of this problem as a charity, as a nonprofit. And that's how really Oso Safe was born, basically.
So let's talk about some of the statistics you ran across. So want to share those with us?
Sure. 1 out of 3 women will be beaten or raped in a lifetime. 1 out of 5 adolescent girls is abused by her boyfriend. 1 out of 7 men is abused. By the end of today, 4 women will be killed by their abusive partners, and most of them will be killed after they leave their abusers. 15 million children witness violence in their own homes each and every year. If you divide that by 50 states, that comes out to be about 300,000 children per state. 85% of all spouse murderers are male. 80% of all runaways come from violent homes. About 324,000 pregnant women go into the emergency room, not for pregnant-related issues, but for abuse-related injuries. So those are just ones that are from the top of my head, really.
Yeah, it is alarming. So what does your company do exactly?
We combine education and technology to promote safety and prevent violence. We focus on real estate. In fact, we have something called the Oso Safe certification. So this basically is where the combining of education and technology occurs in residency. We go into, let's say, we're focusing on the landlord-tenant portion of residency right now, where we go in and we, with landlords and property owners, property managers, we say, look, we're going to get your property Oso Safe certified. We educate all of the tenants, whether they're going through violence or not. It's irrelevant. We do a blanket education for everyone. We have everyone sign a policy that says, I, as a landlord, I promise to provide you a safe space for you to live. And you, in turn, as my tenant, you promise to not act in any way, shape, or form that is abusive. Otherwise, you, the abuser, gets evicted from the premises. But you go into full knowledge knowing that that would be that would happen. So there's no surprises really. So that way everybody's on the same page, everyone is held accountable, and we're fostering a environment of safety throughout the building. And then the technology removes the he said, she said factor, but that's being updated as I'm speaking. And this is preventative. We don't wait for something to happen, an incident to happen. By then it's too late. So this is what we're doing with residency. This would deem your property Oso Safe certified. And we're working with the real estate industry to make this an incentive for landlords where your property is worth more and your insurance rates will go down because you are actually taking steps to make people really feel safe beyond, making sure that the heat, the hot water, the electricity, the central air is all working. All of that is important. But more important than that is to keep your tenants safe from violence. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So obviously with COVID, how has COVID thrown a wrench into your plans for your company?
Well, actually, COVID, I think people are seeing now that this is a big problem, violence, because COVID has spiked violence on a global level. I believe if I have my, I read a statistic about a few months ago that the domestic violence hotline calls have increased like something like 86%. And this is on a global level. It doesn't matter if you're in China, if you're in Pakistan, if you're in the US, if you're in Brazil, Europe, Russia, because in homes, if your home is not safe, where do you run to? You're stuck with your abuser, and the children are the ones that suffer the most, I have to say. So COVID has really spotlighted, we really need to make homes safe once and for all, because what has been done before really hasn't worked, where you leave your residence and you go to a shelter, you go to a nonprofit. Really that method, it's not efficient really. So COVID has really made it that this is a necessity essentially.
So where exactly is your company worldwide? Is it just located in the United States, or it's just located in certain states of the United States?
Right now we're in the tri-state area. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in New Jersey specifically. So, I mean, my vision for Oso Safe is definitely global. Absolutely. I think the services that we're providing, bridging Oso Safe in real estate will be global. But for right now, it's just the tri-state area. But we will go anywhere in the country. I'm speaking to people also in Canada to get my services there. And but yeah, we're looking to definitely become a global entity for sure.
Now, you said when you were little that you watched your dad beat your mom. How long did it take you to actually, like you said, you went through therapy to go through it, to decide to do something like to create your company, Oso Safe?
I'm sorry, so what was the question, Melissa? I'm sorry.
When you said your mom was beaten by your dad, you watched that when you were a little girl. How long did it take for you to finally formulate the idea for the company, Oso Safe?
Well, I, for decades, my father beat my mother. And it's very traumatic, because you're witnessing it. And as a child, you're blaming yourself, you want to help your parents, whoever's being beaten up, you want to remedy, and you kind of go into this depression, and you're blaming yourself, and the child is actually not at fault at all. And a day turns into a week, turns into a month, a number of years, and I would say it wasn't until I moved out and just really catching up on my life, because violence steals your life. So you spend time trying to figure out, wow, what was it that I was supposed to do? What was it that I was meant to do? That for me was dancing. I couldn't even think about dancing growing up. There was no one to take me to dance class, or I couldn't even mention it, let alone have somebody take me to dance class and go to rehearsals or recitals or auditions, so on and so forth. So, and as I'm living my life, like I mentioned before, I realized this needs to be a service. Oso Safe is when I did my TEDx talk. I had the director of the who organized the TEDx talk say, "We really need this." He was talking about my business. We really need something like this because there's nothing like it, really. So I would say it's just a cumulative thing, from taking pain to power, really taking the pain that I suffered as a child, and so many people that suffer this existence, really, of violence. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. So have you gotten any pushback from the real estate community of not wanting to implement this in their communities, or have most of the real estate people that you approached with it, have they been on board immediately with it?
That's a good question. Uh, it's a mix. I would say it's a mix. I mean, the approach is fairly new. I am fairly. I mean, I've been working on this a number of years, but the Oso Safe certification is fairly new. So I am doing a lot of podcasts and interviews and speaking engagements in any format that I can in order to get it out there to market it. So, but the real estate industry, they're beginning to see the need for it, so especially if landlords have an incentive like, wow, my property can be worth more and my insurance rates will go down, so there's more of an incentive there regarding profit or a monetary incentive, which is fine. It's fine to put that as an attractive feature to the program, to the certification. I mean, I want it where my logo, if you see my logo behind me, the Oso Safe sign, when a property is Oso Safe certified, we put that outside of the property. So, so that way, on outside traffic, whether it's pedestrian or driving by, people know, oh wow, that property is Oso Safe certified. I know what that means. It's home violence conscious. They have systems in place in case violence happens, but everybody is educated. They know what the warning signs are, and we actually do hands-on training where we give scenarios at the end of the seminar towards the last half hour or so. We say, okay, what do you do when your child says to you, well, mom, dad, I'm gay? Do you resort to beating them up, or do you say, okay, let's sit down, let's see how we handle this? Our son, our daughter just told us that they're gay. We're not going to beat them up because we live in an Oso Safe certified property. We know better than that. We practice safety. We practice nonviolence. So that's one example of just living differently behaviorally and just and applying it to daily life, really. And everybody's better off for it.
So you talked about the certification. How long does the certification last? Like, take us through the steps of getting certified, and then how long will it last? Will they have to update it every year, or is it one and done type thing?
It is every year. We do this basically for new and existing tenants. It doesn't matter whether they're new or existing. And we introduce this almost as a newsletter, or we speak with the property manager to say, look, you know your tenants better than anyone. So give us an idea how you communicate with your tenants, whether it be via email, whether you want us to send a formal letter to get the property Oso Safe certified. And we have the policy in place where everyone signs it. We do seminars at the beginning of people's residency, like it's an addendum to existing leases. So whether they are there for, let's say, for new tenants, it's pretty much, okay, you're going to be Oso Safe certified from the beginning. But for existing tenants, let's say, for example, we're in December. Let's say their lease, they just signed on a lease for next December. And so in order to get Oso Safe certified, for the remainder of your lease, we will reduce your rent, let's say $25 less every month in order to get Oso Safe certified. So we give it as a choice for them. But for people coming in new, we say, look, this is an Oso Safe certified property, so you're held to a higher regard, a higher standard. The seminar lasts like 2 to 3 hours, and it's just once a year. So it does renew the following year. And we go over basically similar information. And also we touch upon like legalities, obviously, because laws change and everything. But this has to be repetitive. And we also focus on, okay, you are getting Oso Safe certified in your home. Get us into your schools, get us into your workplaces, in your kids' schools and in your workplaces, because those three components are very important. That's where people spend most of their time. So in other words, the tenants become ambassadors almost for Oso Safe. So that way they're proud to be in an Oso Safe certified property. We don't really have violence occurring here. The probability of it occurring is a lot less. I feel safer here. We encourage the tenants at the seminar to say, look, get it on your social media, your experiences living in an Oso Safe certified property, the positives of it, that you feel safer. So we feel that this is really going to catch on as time goes on, and that people will want nothing less than living in an Oso Safe certified property. So it's basically, once all those components are in place, then we put the sign outside to say, okay, this is an Oso Safe certified property. And we are speaking with insurance companies to get them on board to kind of like merge with us to say, look, wow, this is really great. We can do this where we decrease premiums for Oso Safe certified properties. So it's several components of it. The Oso Safe Home Sweet Home package, which is the policy, the seminar, and the app. The getting the sign put outside, getting people to post it on their social media, getting us into their schools and workplaces. So it's kind of a holistic approach, really.
So how many people are involved in your company with getting in the seminars and everything else?
I have a couple of part-timers right now that assist me, really. So for the seminars, just getting the logistics of it and getting everyone to be on the same page as far as speaking with the property owners, property managers. With COVID, obviously, it's kind of hard to get into schools right now and workplaces. You know, people are really concentrating on working from home and schools and everything. So things have been kind of more on the virtual level, you know, just like everything else. But it's, one step at a time, really.
Yeah, because at the very beginning of when I first started Chats from the Blog Cabin, it was during the time COVID actually was hitting really hard. It was like March, April, May of this year. And I had my very first guest was a mental health professional. She was a therapist. And she came on and she talked about the incidence of child abuse going down, not because the statistics were down, because the eyes on the children were not there anymore. Like because the children were at home, but the increase of domestic abuse has gone up because of of people being home with their abusers now because they're working from home. So let's talk about that.
Right, right. Like reporting of, I know reporting of, I guess, right, because the schools are not there to see what's going on, like the behaviors of children, the whatever's going on with them. If they can't see it, I mean, through a screen it's hard to see what's really going on, unless the violence is happening right on the screen. I understand that. Therapy is a big component of the Oso Safe certification. We are making it part of residency, and therapists are very instrumental in this whole equation. And it could be on as a group or as individual, so it is very important to have that as a part of your daily life, as wellness, as mental health. And I like that there's a lot of commercials now, at least I'm seeing it on the East Coast up here. Demi Lovato just put out a commercial. I know Michael Phelps has had one, the Olympic gold medalist, for Talkspace and Headspace. And these people have a lot of pull, obviously, so they're entertainers. Demi Lovato, Michael Phelps is a big athlete. So I think it is really great that they're out there saying, look, there's no shame in getting help. The shame is in not getting help. Mm-hmm. And this is why residency has to become safe. As we say at Oso Safe, there should be no abuse. You should not have to be dealing with abuse in any capacity. And it can be done. It must be done. There's enough problems as it is with life. There could be a hurricane that you're dealing with, or you lost your job, or you're dealing with, if you're an actor, singer, or dancer, you're dealing with rejection from auditions. There's plenty of problems to deal with. You don't have to have abuse. Abuse should not be part of the equation by any means. And just touching upon schools again, I feel like with schools, they do their best to remediate the problem whenever they have a child that is acting out. There's tantrums, but I feel like in a way, in some regards, there's something called ADHD, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like they're too quick, schools, to want to kind of push drugging the child along with the parents. The child can't focus at school. They're having problems at school, so right away they want to get the child evaluated for ADHD. But really, the problem is at home. The problem is that the child is dealing with violence, chaos, dysfunction, abuse in some capacity, either verbally, physically, or sexually. And that's why the child is not performing well at school. So I feel like schools need to really hire us to say, look, we need to get Oso Safe into your building, into your residency. Let's have them come to a PTA meeting where we have the parents and the teachers there, minus the children, because usually the children stay at home in those PTA meetings. And let's get home safe, so that way children feel safe at school. They'll be able to perform well at school. Let's focus on the residency. So I wanted to mention that. Regarding children, home, and schoolwork, how they perform at school. It's not going to get resolved at school until it gets resolved in the home, period, over and out.
Wow. So take me through what would happen if like a incident of abuse happened in an Oso Safe community. Take me through the steps of the, what's the word? The consequences if violence happened.
Yes. Well, we believe that after the education, we do the education, like I mentioned, the blanket education where everyone gets educated equally. We never single anyone out, like, oh, you look like an abuser or you look like a victim. We never ever do that. This is a uniform education for everyone. And everyone gets for example, at the seminar, as I mentioned, we do interactive education where we practice it. So, okay, so everybody does the seminar, the policy is signed, everything is all, that portion of it is done. But we find out, also say, because we don't leave everyone hanging, right? So we have the therapists that are that are assigned to properties. So we are in close communication with the therapists that are assigned to the property. And we say, okay, you are going to check in with your therapist on a monthly basis, once a month. How is everything? Is there anything conflicting? Is there anything bothering you? So we are fostering an environment of where mental health is a part of residency. It's not some foreign thing where we wait for for violence to happen. It's a regular part of residency. So with the therapist, we say, okay, how is the building doing all around? Is there anything going on in units A, B, C, D, however many units, whether it's a two family or 200 units, 300 units, and then usually, because I know in my house, cops would come to my residence, police were called, and bad news travels fast. So the neighboring tenant would say, wow, we saw cops coming to our residence or the residence across from us or above us. We hear kicking and screaming, we hear yelling, the children are crying. So this is beyond the first level of certification. The first level of certification is the seminar, the app, and the policy. So the second level of certification is, okay, we got word that there was violence, a report was made with the police, so the abuser gets evicted immediately, and the waiver was signed in the policy. So the abuser gets evicted. The abuser has to have mandatory therapy, like very accelerated therapy, along with the therapist. And that is done at a police station where there is an Oso Safe central portion of the police station. So that way that therapy is done so that way everyone is safe, right? So the abuser is out. And then the portion where the victims get to stay in the residence. And this is treated like, for example, you have a security deposit, okay? You have a security deposit, and let's say you dump something in a toilet and it requires for plumbers to come to fix that problem. This is the same thing. We have 4 to 6 weeks. We take that security deposit that pays for us to go in and to say, okay, now you as a victim with the children, you need accelerated therapy. We make sure that you become de-victimized, in other words, where you have accelerated therapy and you have to do accelerated therapy, and everything is, we speak to the students, to the children. We go into the school where we say, look, you need to get the school Oso Safe certified so that way the child is comfortable. So it's more of a holistic approach. This is like the second level of certification. And we have 4 to 6 weeks to get those people, those victims de-victimized, if you will, where we instill positivity, we instill positive reinforcement. We do, so it's much more accelerated. I know in my house, in my household, if I had this growing up, my reality would have been much different growing up. And so that way everyone is safe. Now, we have 6 weeks to say, look, you continue to pay the rent. We have the security deposit. And after the 4 to 6 weeks, um, you are getting Oso Safe certified on a second level. I hope I explained myself.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's basically multiple levels of certification, and with a victim, their spirit is broken. They are very, very distraught. So we don't leave them hanging. The way the therapist is there for the abuser, the therapist is there for the victim, and we get the children into therapy. So basically, those are the steps of certification. It's like multiple levels, and that way we maintain property reputation, we mitigate liability, your vacancy rates will drop, and your tenants feel safer.
So where are you getting the therapist from?
We use existing therapists and we get them Oso Safe certified. We explain to them, look, you're going to be assigned the properties that are willing to be Oso Safe certified at this point in time, and it's existing therapists really that are out there, and there are so many, but they have to be obviously qualified. We get them trained to be Oso Safe certified, and that way they are kept abreast on, okay, this is an Oso Safe certified property. I'm held to a higher regard, a higher standard, and I have automatic clients. Usually therapists have to, get referrals, but we assign therapists to the property. So that way, they have automatic clients in a way, because they are assigned to, let's say, 123 Main Street in such and such town. And everyone checks in basically. But when violence happens, that's where the therapy is accelerated, and it's more of a concentrated therapy, whether it be group or individual, as long as they're getting therapy.
So is it the same therapist that is seeing the abuser and the victim as well, or is it two different therapists?
It varies. It varies. I mean, preferably it would be the same, because that therapist was assigned to that property. It was assigned to that cluster of buildings, if you will. So, and it's kind of like you build a rapport with the therapist and those tenants in that building. So it's kind of you know them in a way, so you're more comfortable with those therapists that you have a relationship with, whether it be just once a month or now that it's accelerated multiple times a month, So, uh, so yeah, we find that would be the best approach.
Now, you talked about your one woman show. Did that help you heal from the abuse that you saw when you were growing up?
Yes, good question. Good. Yes, definitely. It was definitely healing. And like I said, I played different women being abused, and yes, it was definitely healing, and I would say just very, I play my mother actually in one of the scenes. I'm Italian, and I have an Italian accent in the scene, and I'm really playing her, and I connect with it profoundly especially when I do that scene, because it was just so painful, to see her suffer, and there was nothing I could do about it. And but the ending of the show, I just felt like I got some justice in a way from all the pain that I suffered, and every time I perform it, it's just more healing, more just getting more justice, and getting more freer, really. Um, it's it's important to have that as a former victim, because as with violence, your freedom is just completely gone, on multiple levels, mentally, physically, in every way possible. So yes, it was definitely healing. And the more I do it, the the deeper the healing.
Now, have people come up after they've seen your show and talked to you about their situations, the abuse that they may have suffered when they were younger?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Yes. I've had people say, wow, because I play different women being abused, and uh, and they have come up to me, even children. I used to teach dance, and I did the show with students and my students, and I've had those students say, "Wow, Sabrina, you really," or Miss Sabrina. I was known as Miss Sabrina. You're playing my mother, or I know of a friend that the scene that we did, that was pretty close to what was happening. And I try to touch upon different, I don't want to, I guess you could say, classes of women, where I play a rich woman. I play like I said, my mother. I play, on one of them, I play a child, and he is calling the police actually to get help. And, um, and then I play, at the end of it, I play a judge, actually, kind of bridging all of the women together. And I say that to expect the victim to take care of this enormous problem is the wrong approach. And I show that in the show. So this is why I feel that real estate has to be proactive. It has to be, it's the missing link in this whole horrible equation. Because if you think about it, every single incidence of violence happens in some type of residence, whether it be a townhouse, a co-op, a condo, a single-family home, a multifamily dwelling, a two-family home, a villa, a mansion, a mobile home. It doesn't matter. It happens in some type of residence. So this is where the focus needs to be. And if you tying it in with school shootings, yes, the violence happened in a school. However, if you trace back that child, that young adult, and they've all been male, for the most part, they've all been young adult male shooters. If you trace their residency, it was violent. There was chaos, dysfunction. If we nipped it in the bud, so to speak, if we solved it in the home when that child, that school shooter, was 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, it never would have gotten to the level of Sandy Hook. I'm sorry, yes, in Connecticut,
Mhm.
all those shootings with Adam Lanza, or so many others, Parkland, right, in with Nicholas Cruz, and all those in on the at the high school in Parkland, Florida. It never would have gotten that far if it was taken care of in the home of that shooter when that shooter was a young boy, a little boy. So I hope I answered your question. I may have gone off on a tangent for a while there.
You did. You did. Now, when you were coming up with the characters for your show, did you do any kind of research, or did you just kind of create them in your mind?
I created them in my mind. I just there was almost I mean I did the whole, I was taking so many classes my training is in New York City. I shuffled between Broadway Dance Center, Steps, and Alvin Ailey. Those are the three main dance studios in New York City. and I was auditioning heavily. I was taking classes, voice lessons. I was deeply submerged and immersed in the dance world, auditioning like crazy, and I was getting gigs. I did matinee theater. I did performances at the Lambs Theater. It was a famous theater in New York City. Uh, I was on a small tour with a Latin pop artist, similar to Ricky Martin, kind of at that time. Um, and I just said to myself, I want to write my own show. I just want to write my own show. And then I just started writing automatically, and I don't know, the creativity was just automatic. I just started, okay, I knew with the choreography, I knew I wanted a Latin piece, I wanted an African piece, I wanted a musical theater piece, I wanted a flamenco piece. And for each one of those, I played different women, you know, like I said, the rich woman, the child, my mother. I played a young girl, like a girlfriend, working at Starbucks, and I tried to create characters that people could really relate to. You know, that they weren't some far off a person. You know, that people could really relate to and connect with, and to say, wow, that's me, or that was me, or, oh, I know someone that's in that situation. So I just basically wrote them down, and I, like I said, it's a one woman show, but I performed it with my students, which was really awesome. And the owner of the studio allowed me to do that. And yeah, it was very, very well received, you know. So and what's great about my show, how I wrote it, is I could pull any scene and do it at any venue. You know, I actually did one of the scenes for the vagina monologues. I was asked to perform the African piece that I had. This was a few years ago. The vagina monologue, somebody was doing it locally in New Jersey, and they said, "Can you do your African piece?" Because we needed an African piece, so it fit right in, and it was very well received. Yeah.
So where can people see that though? Do you have it out anywhere, or you just have to see it in person?
Oh, I have no, I have it. It is on my social media, on my website. I have a trailer of it, and then I have the full show. I believe it is on the internet. The title of it is "Home Sweet Home?" question mark. Uh, and the end of the show, it's "Home Sweet Home!" exclamation point. So I kind of carry the audience in a process, in a way where "Home Sweet Home," yeah, we're not "Home Sweet Home." It signifies, it kind of it implies safety, right? Because when you say that home sweet home, you know it implies safety, it implies freedom. So the question mark is very important as the title, because it's you're not there yet. It's not home sweet home. It's more like home hell home, really. But by the end of the show, it's an exclamation point, say, when we're saying, yeah, your home should be safe. You should feel free in your home. Yes, you're going to argue, there's going to be disagreement, that's normal, but it should never cross the line of abuse. You should be safe in your home, hence "Home Sweet Home!" exclamation point. So I have it on my website. I'm pretty sure I have the full show somewhere in the cyber, on the internet. But I do want to bring it up live again, sometime after COVID, you know, and kind of revamp it. Definitely. I am proud of that show. It's how Oso Safe was born, and a lot of work went into it. And what I like about it is that it's positive. It's not this, where you see the woman always with her head in her hand, and it's empowering, it's strong, it's educational, and it's entertaining. What's the saying? You catch more bees with honey or with vinegar, or what's even though it's a heavy subject, but if you don't put a positive spin on it, if you don't talk about it in a positive, empowering way, you're not going to grab the attention of everyone, or as many people as you can. That's very important, especially with children. Like I said, they suffer the most, and they need to feel positive in some capacity, even though their home life is the opposite of that. You know, um, I wanted to mention something quickly, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pornography is a big driver of violence, and it needs to be said. We need to stop giving pornography to our children, especially our boys. And I know the damaging effects of it, and I'm not talking about sexual freedom. This is the opposite of sexual freedom. Pornography is 88.2% physical aggression towards women. And there's another portion of pornography called a financial dominatrix. And it's actually the woman that's doing the abusing, the sex abusing, if you will. And it's horrible all around, on screen and off screen. So, like I said, we're not talking about sexual freedom. You should have good sexual experiences, male or female. That's healthy. But pornography, financial dominatrix, which is a branch of trafficking, sex trafficking, which is a big problem. I'm sure people are more aware of the problem, and this ties in with home violence, because essentially we are teaching our boys and girls that women, girls are commodities, objects, and products, and that really has to stop. We need to stop giving our boys any pornographic material. And I in my education, I've come across statistics where boys are given pornographic materials as young as 8 years old. So by the time they start dating, they already have these mental images that women and girls are things to get. So we really need to look at that. And we teach this in our seminars, workshops, and speaking engagements. For sure, in our Home Sweet Home seminar, we touch upon pornography, and we say in our seminars, look, this is very damaging, and there's a direct tie between rape and violence and unhealthy relationships and home violence with pornography. So I just wanted to say that on our interview. It's very important, I feel.
Yeah, I've had other people come on.
Allowing me to say that.
Yeah, I've had other people come on and talk about the pornography aspects. I actually had a former Playboy photographer come on and talk about how now she is devoting her time to teach about sexual abuse for kids in school, so that they're more aware of what's going on and what is abuse and what isn't abuse. So thank you for sharing that as well.
Wow, thank you for saying that. Yes, we have to talk about it. It's important.
So where can people find you if they want to get their property certified Oso Safe?
Yes, my website is ososafe.com. My direct email is sabrina@ososafe.com. I am on all the major social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Alignable. My TEDx talk is broadcast on the internet under Sabrina Osso, and the title of it is "If You're a Victim of Home Violence, Don't Leave, Stay." And and that title, we talked about why I say that throughout this interview. But I have all of my updated information basically on my website, ososafe.com, and information on the certification is on there. My direct, all of my direct contact information is on there.
All right, Sabrina, I want to thank you so much for taking something that could have been, detrimental to your life and just totally changing the focus around it so that other people can learn from your experiences and make sure that other kids and other parents don't have to go through the same situation that you did. I want to thank you for creating a positive around that.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yes, it's always a work in progress, as I know you know, and I thank you for this platform. And no one should live with abuse. Period. Over and out. And we're doing all that we can at Oso Safe to make homes safe. Period.
Well, like I said, I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing about your company. And I can't wait to see it in more places, just instead of the 3 states that you are in right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes, I believe it will. With more platforms like this, and like I said, I think it'll catch on. People will not want anything less, especially with COVID. It has highlighted that homes must be safe.
Yes. So, guys, if you know of someone that's being abused, please contact. I will put in the show notes contact a place where you can contact the abuse hotline so that you can get help. And Sabrina, like I said, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on and share about your company and what you're doing to make sure abuse victims are safe, and that the responsibility, like you said in a quote, the responsibility of safety should not be in the hands of the victims. And I love that quote.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate it.
Okay, guys, we will see you on